Hello and welcome to today's briefing. I'm Dana, and I'm joined by Matt. We're covering a range of stories for you today, starting with some significant developments in international politics and economy.
That's right, Dana. We've got a lot to unpack. Let's start with the news that a federal judge has struck down Trump's $100,000 H-1B visa fee.
The U.S. District Judge Leo Sorokin in Boston ruled that the fee was unlawful and ordered it to be invalidated. This decision came as a result of a lawsuit brought by 20 employers, students, and workers who challenged the fee.
That's interesting. The announcement of this fee back in September caused quite a stir among employers and workers. What were the main arguments against the fee, according to the reporting?
The reporting suggests that the main argument was that the fee was an improper attempt to restrict the use of H-1B visas, which are popular among tech companies and universities for hiring foreign talent. The judge's ruling essentially sided with this argument, calling the fee unlawful.
So what does this mean for the tech sector and universities that rely on H-1B visas? Are they off the hook now?
Essentially, yes. The ruling means that these organizations will no longer have to pay the $100,000 fee for new H-1B visa applications. This could potentially ease some of the financial burdens and complexities they faced under the Trump administration's policy.
That's a significant development. How does this ruling fit into the broader context of U.S. immigration policy, especially under the current administration?
The current administration has been working to reform immigration policies, and this ruling is seen as a step in that direction. It reflects ongoing debates about how to balance the need for skilled foreign workers with domestic employment concerns.
Got it. Let's move on to another story that's been making headlines: Iran firing missiles at Israel for the first time since the ceasefire.
Yes, the Israeli military reported that Iran launched ballistic missiles at Israel on Sunday, marking the first such attack since the ceasefire took effect in early April. This escalation has raised fears of renewed conflict in the region.
The reporting indicates that the missiles triggered sirens across northern Israel. Were there any reports of casualties or damage?
The initial reports didn't specify significant casualties, but the attack itself is a significant escalation. It's also worth noting that Iran warned Israel not to retaliate, adding to the tension.
So, what's the latest on the situation? Has there been any response from Israel or the international community?
Iran has since announced a halt in operations against Israel, according to their main military command. This development comes after what they called a painful response to Israel's actions.
That's a critical update. It seems like the situation is still very fluid. Let's touch on another related story where Trump called on Iran and Israel to stop shooting immediately.
Exactly. Trump's statement came after the fresh missile and airstrikes threatened to unravel the fragile ceasefire. He's essentially urging both sides to de-escalate.
Do we know how Iran and Israel responded to Trump's call? Was there any immediate reaction?
The reporting doesn't show an immediate reaction from either side, but it's clear that the international community is watching closely, hoping for a de-escalation.
Let's shift gears to some economic news. There's been a significant development with NVIDIA striking deals with South Korean giants to advance the AI boom.
NVIDIA announced a series of deals with major tech companies in South Korea, including SK Hynix and Naver. These agreements are aimed at securing crucial memory chips for NVIDIA's AI ambitions.
That's a big move. What does this mean for the AI sector and NVIDIA's position in it?
It solidifies NVIDIA's position as a leader in the AI space by ensuring access to key components. It also highlights the growing collaboration between U.S. and South Korean tech companies in advancing AI technology.
The article mentions that NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang made a high-profile trip to South Korea for these deals. Did the reporting say anything about the significance of this visit?
Yes, the visit underscored NVIDIA's commitment to the South Korean market and its partners there. It was seen as a strategic move to strengthen ties and advance their AI initiatives.
Moving on to some other economic news, the IMF has revealed its outlook for Kyrgyzstan's reserve money.
The IMF expects Kyrgyzstan's reserve money growth to remain stable in 2027, following strong expansion in recent years. This is seen as a positive indicator for the country's economic stability.
That's good news for Kyrgyzstan. What about other economic indicators? Did the IMF report on those as well?
Yes, the IMF also noted that Kyrgyzstan's current account deficit is expected to narrow steadily over the medium term, which is another positive sign.
Let's discuss some more economic news. U.S. carriers spent $6.5 billion on fuel in April, and there's been a significant cut in the global profit forecast.
The data shows that U.S. airlines spent nearly $6.5 billion on jet fuel in April, a 78% jump from the previous year. Meanwhile, the airline industry's global trade group warned that soaring energy costs could nearly halve profits in 2026.
That's a substantial increase in fuel costs. How are airlines responding to these rising costs?
Airlines are raising airfares and fees, cutting perks, and adjusting their schedules to contain costs. It's a challenging time for the industry.
Oil prices have also been affected by the recent conflicts. I understand there's been a significant jump.
Oil prices surged over $2 a barrel after Israel launched renewed strikes on Lebanon, despite a truce. This has raised fears of a prolonged conflict in the Middle East and potentially impacting Strait of Hormuz oil flows.
The market is certainly sensitive to geopolitical tensions. How did the market react to the initial news of a possible de-escalation and then the subsequent strikes?
Initially, prices fell on cautious optimism about a possible de-escalation. However, the renewed violence wiped out those losses and pushed prices higher.
Let's shift to sports news. There's been a story about Brendan Sorsby getting an injunction against the NCAA.
Brendan Sorsby, the Texas Tech quarterback, was granted a temporary injunction against the NCAA, allowing him to play this fall despite being declared ineligible for wagering on college sports.
What were the circumstances around his ineligibility, and how did this injunction come about?
Sorsby was deemed ineligible after it was found that he had wagered on college sports, including some bets on his own team. The injunction was granted by a Texas judge, clearing the way for him to play.
That's an interesting development. How does this ruling reflect on the NCAA's policies regarding athlete gambling?
It highlights the ongoing debates and challenges around the NCAA's stance on athlete gambling and the legal scrutiny they face. Another sports story involves Somali football referee Omar Artan being denied entry to the U.S. Omar Artan, a highly rated Somali referee, was denied entry into the United States just days before he was set to officiate in the FIFA World Cup. U.S. officials cited vetting concerns as the reason.
That's surprising. What implications does this have for the World Cup and the affected teams?
The decision has caused some disruption, but the World Cup organizers will likely find alternate referees. It remains to be seen how this affects the tournament's dynamics.
We've also got news about Stacey King, the former Chicago Bulls player and broadcaster who has passed away.
Stacey King, known for his role on 3 consecutive NBA championship teams with the Chicago Bulls and later as an Emmy-winning broadcaster, died at 59. The Bulls announced his passing on Sunday.
That's sad news. What are some of the tributes or reflections on his legacy?
King was remembered as a vibrant figure in Chicago sports, both for his playing career and his later work as a broadcaster. He was cherished by fans and colleagues alike. Let's move on to some entertainment news. There's been a report on the 2026 Tony Awards.
The 79th Tony Awards took place on June 7th at Radio City Music Hall. The ceremony honored the best of Broadway, with Schmigadoon winning Top Musical Prize and Death of a Salesman taking home the most awards overall.
That's great to see.
Were there any other notable winners or moments from the ceremony?
The Lost Boys: A New Musical and Ragtime also led the pack with multiple awards. The ceremony was hosted by Grammy winner Pink.
We've also got news on TV listings. Peppa Pig and Paw Patrol are airing on Nick Jr.
Topic: Peppa Pig on Nick Jr. Full details and when it's on. Yes, Peppa Pig is airing on Nick Jr. at various times, including an episode about decorating new bedrooms. Paw Patrol is also on, with episodes like Pups Save a Windswept Polar Bear Cub.
It's always good to know what's new on kids' TV. Let's touch on some other news. There's been a tragic incident at New York City's Penn Station.
At least 5 people were injured in a stabbing incident at Penn Station on Sunday evening. The incident occurred as the city prepared for major events like the NBA Finals and the World Cup.
What's the latest on the investigation into the stabbing?
The reporting indicates that the suspect is in custody, but details about the motive are still emerging. A powerful earthquake struck the Philippines, resulting in significant loss of life and damage. At least 32 people were killed and numerous buildings were damaged after a magnitude 7.8 earthquake hit Sarangani province. Schools and flights were suspended in response.
That's a devastating natural disaster. What's the latest on the relief efforts?
Local authorities are leading the relief efforts, with multiple organizations stepping in to provide support. The situation is still being assessed. We've also got news about the passing of Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Gordon S. Wood. Gordon S. Wood, renowned for his work on the American Revolution, died at 92 in a tragic collision. He was known for his influential narratives on the country's early years.
What are some of the reflections on his legacy and contributions to historical scholarship?
Wood was celebrated for his prolific and influential work, including his prize-winning books that shaped the understanding of America's early independence.
Finally, there's been an incident involving 3 Air India aircraft being damaged in a storm in Delhi.
3 Air India planes were damaged in strong winds and rain at Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport. The DGCA has ordered a probe into the incident.
What were the circumstances around the damage?
The incident occurred when strong winds and rain caused ground support equipment to drag and damage the aircraft.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on this detailed briefing covering a range of stories from international politics to economy, sports, and entertainment.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in. We'll be back soon with more updates.
Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.
Goodbye, and thank you again.